guys, it's your girl Miss and welcome back to my YouTube channel. As you can read by the title, today I'm going to be doing another storytime video which is about the day I left home. If you guys don't remember, about a month ago I posted this video over here which was the reasons why I left home. So I decided to continue this little, should we call it a series, about the day I left home. And I feel like this is one that a lot of people actually wanted to hear compared to the first video I posted. But I thought in order to actually post this video I had to kind of explain because there was a lot of rumors going around about me. So I thought, let me get that out the way before I go ahead and do the story time about the day I left home. Yes, I haven't posted in a very long time, and that is because I've been trying to take it easy on myself because I have been going through some horror times in life just like everybody else does, and just thought I should take a little break. And obviously now I'm feeling a lot better, and I thought, you know what, why not finally get my ass up and film this YouTube video. Okay, where do we begin? 2019. This is, actually, was it 2000? Yeah, 2019, around about June. To be specific, I think the day I actually decided to leave home the first time. If you guys watched the first storytime video, you should be aware that I left twice. First time I went back, and then obviously once I got into university accommodation I decided to leave again, but for good, which is why I'm here. But yeah, and that was the second time I left home, and ever since I've been independent, met my amazing partner who's playing PlayStation right now, and as you can hear the fan is literally going off. This old thing behind me, and he's right here playing FIFA, so if you do hear it throughout the video I do apologize. But as I was saying, the first time I left home, the date was the 15th of June 2019. I can't forget that date, to be completely honest, because it was the most traumatic days of my life. If I'm completely honest, it was the first time I was independent and alone by myself, because all my life I was shown how to do things and I was always guided by someone, considering I was an adult. But yeah, it was just super scary. I also want to mention that it has been quite a while since I've kind of reflected back on these traumatic events, so I am going to be a little bit brief because I won't remember like exact things that, you know, a hotel person might have said to me or a certain police officer may have said to me. So if you guys do watch the first story time I posted, I think it will be better to watch that first and then come back on here, because everything will make a lot more sense. But yeah, it was the 15th of June 2019, and basically the night before, so on the 14th of June, I had a huge argument with my family, and it was with regards to something they had found in my bag. I don't think I'd want to go into details of that because I have briefly spoken about it, but long story short, there was just a huge argument. And it's crazy because I had actually planned prior to leaving home the first time the day I wanted to leave, and that was the 15th of June 2019. The night before, had a bit of an argument with my family and it resulted in my phone getting taken away from me. Bear in mind, I was been past April, so I was 19 years old. At my big age, they took my phone off me just because of an argument we had, and I lied to them and I said to them, guys, I have uni tomorrow, and I would need my phone because that's the way, you know, I book my tickets and that's how I pay for all my things, because my card's connected to it and I use Apple Pay, blah blah. And then my mum was just like, no, you're not getting it for the day tomorrow. And I was just like, oh shit, okay, this is really happening. So the next morning, my older brother was leaving for university. He comes into my room, he looks at me, and because of the incident that had happened the night before, he was like, make sure you don't do anything messed up. I'm going back to uni now in my accommodation. He was studying in a different city. I don't think it's necessary to disclose where because that's their private life, whatever. I was laying in my bed and I was just like, okay, cool, that's one person that's going to uni, so maybe I'll be able to kind of liaise with my mum and get her to give me my phone so I can go to uni. Which, by the way, I wasn't going to uni. I had pre-booked a hotel on booking.com and I was planning to literally leave. Also, the night before, I had packed all of my stuff while my sisters were doing whatever, because I did share a bedroom with my sisters, and so I literally packed all my clothes, all my documents, everything in carrier bags under my bed where nobody could see them. I actually had like one of those frame beds, the ones that you can just slide boxes underneath and stuff. So I literally had carrier bags of all my clothes, all of my documents etc. And this was during like the whole argument that we were having as well. I was also like out of anger just packing all my stuff anyways. But yeah, the main plan was to basically get my phone back just so I could get out of there. So yeah, my brother had left for university and I thought, oh my gosh, this is perfect. This is literally a perfect opportunity because now there's only just my mum at home. The kids were all at school, both my sisters had work. It was enough time for me to get myself to the train station and maybe talk to my mum one-on-one and get her to give me the phone. So I go downstairs first thing as soon as my brother's left and my dad's gone to take him, and of course my dad said that he was going to go to work as well, and I was like, perfect. I walked downstairs, said to her, look, I need my phone. I'm going to university. I have an exam. I'm so glad I said that I had an exam even though I didn't, because I feel like if I didn't, she wouldn't have given my phone to me. I said, look, I have an exam. It's at 12. I need to go to university quickly. Otherwise, they're going to kick me out and I won't have a degree. I won't be able to get a job, etc. And that was enough for her to give me my phone. And she goes, look, when you come back from uni, you are giving me your phone right back. And you're not gonna have it until you make those journeys. I was like, okay, cool, whatever. And I feel like she also made a comment like, oh yeah, you're never going to uni again. But I know that she was just saying that, but the main thing was to basically stop me from going on my phone outside of things that were necessary, like going to uni, which I was like, whatever, okay, cool. So now I've got my phone and the next mission is to get all the carrier bags from under my bed and out the house. And I remember that day I was kind of nervous. I was like, how am I going to execute this? But first thing I did was I got the carrier bags and I said, oh, I'm just going to throw the trash out. And what a coincidence is this? My mum was on the phone. So she was already distracted and she seemed like she was, proper conversing, getting into it. And she was sitting on the side, not facing the window at the front of the house. So I was like, this is perfect. Like, she's just gonna be on the phone. I'm gonna get my carrier bags, open the door, leave them out there, and then say to her, oh yeah, I'm just gonna throw the trash out. Perfect. So I got ready to leave. I was wearing my coat and I had my attire on that I normally wear to uni. I think it was like an oversized yellow jumper and some Adidas leggings or something like that. It wasn't even leggings because I wasn't allowed leggings. I think I changed into leggings as soon as I left the house, like in the shopping mall, which I'll get to. But I was wearing like some blue washed baggy jeans, and a yellow sweater. If I have a picture, I'll post it because I'm pretty sure I probably took like a snap or something on the day. But yeah, I went downstairs with my coat on and she was like, oh, you're going to go ready? I said, no, I'm just throwing the trash out and then I'm going to go upstairs, go to the toilet and then leave. And she was like, oh, okay, cool. And bear in mind, she was on the phone, so she didn't really think nothing of it. She didn't have any suspicions. She genuinely thought that because of the argument that we had last night that I'll be too afraid to do anything for her to worry about. So yeah, I opened the front door, I got my carrier bags, just put them out there, and then once I had said that I was going to throw the trash out, I quickly went outside and got my clothes and put them in the neighbor's bush, because basically we had a gate in the front of our house and there was like a big area for like parking your cars and stuff, and then the neighbor to our right had like a bush and it had like a little hollow area. And I was like, this is a perfect safekeeping place while I quickly run upstairs and go toilet before I leave for good. So I hid all my carrier bags inside that bush. I went back inside and she looked at me and she was like, what are you doing now? I said, I'm going to the toilet. And I was like, oh shit, I hope she hasn't seen me. Like, a bit of my heart dropped a little bit because I was like, I hope she didn't just see me do that. Because now when I went back in, she was standing up and she was more so facing the window. And I was like, no, I threw the trash out. She was kind of convinced after that because I had also like actually thrown something in the bin as well to make it convincing. So I went back in, I went to the toilet and then I rushed back and she was still on the phone. And I was like to her, okay, yeah, cool, bye, I'm going now, I'm gonna walk to uni. She was like, oh, are you sure, do you want me to come walk with you? I was like, no, don't worry, it's fine. At this rate, I was like, oh, for God's sake, she better not hang up that phone. I need to leave on my own, otherwise all of my stuff, all of my documents, everything is literally gonna be in the neighbor's bush and someone could take it. So I was like, no, it's fine, trust me, like, you can trust me, I'm gonna come back, you're gonna get my phone back. And I made it very convincing that I had learned from the night before, which honestly speaking, I was not in the wrong whatsoever. What had happened the night before, I just felt like they were being overly restrictive, and I was just like, okay, cool. So I looked at her and I was like, trust me, I'm gonna walk to the train station, I have an exam, I'm not trying to be late. Walking with you, you're a bit slower than me as well, so I'll make it. So I had my coat on, and then she was like, okay, cool, bye. And I didn't say bye back. I was fed up with her in general, and I had so much hatred in my heart that I didn't even want to say bye to her. Like, my body and me in general just wanted to get out of there because it was my only way to get out and escape for good. So I just looked at her and I just nodded and I walked out the house. I snuck out the gate, and I was worried at this point that she was gonna come running after me or something, and there was just a lot of paranoia going on. So I made sure to look like a good 4 or 5 times before I went into the neighbor's bush to get all of my carrier bags. This is where it gets really funny and where all the paranoia starts kicking in, because at this point my heart was racing and I was like, shit, I hope nobody sees me with all these carrier bags, or no one has any suspicions that I'm trying to, you know, leave. So I got my carrier bags and I rushed to this little alleyway that directs me to the train station, which was about a 20-minute walk. Tell me why I go through this alleyway and I see my mom's friend from a distance coming closer and closer, and I was just like, oh shit, what am I meant to say to her? So I was like, you know what, act cool, act casual, and maybe that way she won't be suspicious. So yeah, we were walking. I'm saying we, but it was just me and my carrier bags. We were walking, and she gets closer and closer, and she looks at me and she's like, oh hey, where are you going? I was like, oh, I'm just I don't know why I said this, but out of the blue, randomly, I spat out so quickly as well. I said, oh, I'm just going to the charity bin so I can put all of my old clothes in the charity bin. And then she goes, oh, okay, good job, well done, man, I'm proud of you. And I was just like, fuck. I was like, how did I even think of that? Like, it's crazy how the human body and like us in I'm gonna cough. But it's just so crazy how your instinct comes into play when you're in like a crazy situation like that, and it just randomly spat out, and I was like, oh my god, that's so perfect, girl, you're so smart, how did you come up with that? And then she just looked at me and she was just really happy and she walked off. You guys would not understand the amount of relief and the sigh of relief I gave after that encounter, because I was so scared that she was gonna over question me or even call my mum on the spot and say, oh, she's up to no good, she's here, she's trying to run away, or like even know what I was up to. And I just think that was mainly like the paranoia and like the adrenaline that was within me, and just me overthinking and believing that everybody knows what I'm about to do. And yeah, I was just really glad that the encounter went the way it went. After that, I ran God knows how many miles in the space of like 10-15 minutes. I was jogging, I had my 6 carrier bags with me, and the first thing I did was, stupidly enough, I decided to call a friend. I said to her, oh my god, look, I've decided to leave home for good, I finally got out, I'm going to Argos right now. And basically there was a big shopping center which is basically connected to the train station. So I went inside the shopping center and I went to the Argos there, and I got myself a suitcase, let my friend know, and she was like, oh my god, do you need any help? I said no, I'm perfectly fine, I just wanted to let you know. And I also said something along the lines of like, don't bait me out, basically, like don't let them know where I'm at, or that I'm in London, or that I've told you that I've left home and stuff. Because funnily enough, the night before, the weirdest thing my family did was also when they had my phone confiscated off me, they decided to copy all of my contacts on my phone, so all of my friends and anyone I've ever messaged from my phone onto theirs, and just saved them. And I thought that was kind of weird because I didn't really have anyone crazy on my phone for them to be worried about. So I was just like, okay. So I literally hung up the phone from that friend, and I decided to call everyone on my contacts. I was like, look, if my family ever call you, just tell them you don't know where I am, you don't speak to me, we're not really friends like that, and just keep it short and end the phone call, because my biggest fear was that they were gonna call people and my friends will start, you know, looking for me as well, and then blah blah blah, you know, all that stuff happens. They got the message. I made my way to Argos, got myself a suitcase, and then literally remember rushing to the train station. I took an off-peak train to London King's Cross, and I had a booking at a hotel in Clapham. I think it was, yeah, Clapham South. I booked a hotel there, but it was literally the cheapest thing that was available, and I was like, you know what, I've only got like a couple of £100. This is gonna be the most convenient thing for me to do, and I'll just stay there for a couple of nights while I literally rummage through job applications and find myself a job, because luckily I also took my Mac and, you know, all my electronics and literally everything I had, and took it with me so that I could actually do that stuff. But yeah, I sat on the train and I remember just having this big ball of sadness lift away from me, and I don't know why I felt so happy. I was like, wow, I'm free. Like, it's almost like I had handcuffs on me and someone just got the key and just, you know, took them off, and I was like, shit, like, I'm really doing this. And I was so proud of myself, and I was like, damn, it wasn't that hard. So yeah, I put all my stuff in my room, and then I was like, right, where do I start? It's time for me to go exploring. I haven't really given myself this type of independence before and be able to like do a lot of things. So the first thing I did was go to Canary Wharf and spend the night like staring at buildings and like the lights and stuff and the scenery, and just really taking that in, breathing fresh air and stuff. Like, it was all very surreal to me, and I remember it like it was like a movie and stuff. So I guess that was nice until I got back to my hotel. This is where shit went left, okay? It was around about 6 p.m. and this is normally the time where I start making my way home, and my family had decided to message me in the family group chat, and they were like, oh, when's your train home? And then I was like, you know what, this is where I dropped them the message, and to let them know that I'm basically not coming back and I'm never gonna see them again. Now that I'm finally free, I'm an adult, and they have no right to like obstruct any of my dreams and what I want to do with my life, etc. It was quite a dramatic text message, if I'm completely honest myself, and I think where I messed up was where I said that I was like, I explained all of my feelings and I said to them, look, I'm not coming back, blah blah blah. They were all like, no, come back, da, da. And I was just like, no, I'm not coming back. But I added a little segment at the bottom, and I said, also, I've got an opportunity in the US, and once I fly out, I'm not going to see you guys again, so don't even bother coming after me. And I think the reason why I added that little bit at the end of the message was just because I was scared that they were going to come to London and look for me. So I thought, yo, if I tell them that I'm going to the US, they won't even bother like flying all the way there to like hunt for me and stuff. So that was a bit of an extra move, but it was also bad because that's when they started getting the police involved, thinking that I've been kidnapped because they didn't believe the message that I had sent them. And I know this because when I went to bed at like 5 a.m. in the morning in the hotel, I got a unknown caller just ringing my phone God knows how many times, like a lot of times, to the point where it actually woke me up from my sleep. I just said, you know what, F it, if it's one of them and I hear their voice, I'm just gonna hang up, block them. So oh yeah, I forgot to mention, I did also, like, after I dropped them that message and I had seen what they had to say, I decided to block every single one of them and basically just be like, okay, that's it, I sent the message, whatever. But obviously they called the police, and yeah, it was the police that was calling my line at 5 a.m. in the morning, and I answered. They said, oh hey, we've just been given a notice that you have been reported as a missing person, and this is with regards to a missing persons incident, and we want to question you and blah blah. I literally went on the phone, I said, shut the fuck up, why are you bothering me? I'm an adult, I can do what I want. And I just hung up. I said they're lying, and I hung up. And then obviously, like, that wasn't the right way I should have approached it, but it made shit even worse because at 8 a.m. I then got another phone call, and I was awoken once again, and I answered it, and all I heard was, got the location? The other guy on the other line was like, yep, roger that. And I was like, fuck. I was like, is the police tracking me? And I was like, fuck this, I'm out of this hotel. So what I did was I took my SIM out my phone. I literally crushed my SIM card, left it in the hotel, left one of my bags, emptied them out into my suitcase, took my suitcase, checked out of that hotel in the morning, considering I had to check out at like 12 p.m. It was one of those late checkout ones. And I just dipped. I decided to go to Canary Wharf because I had seen a hotel there that was also quite affordable. I rushed to that hotel and I took my luggage, and because I had so much of the day and I was really hungry, I went to like the luggage person and I said to them, oh yeah, basically I'm staying here tonight, is it okay if you can keep my luggage here for me, and when I come back I can obviously take it to my room when I check in. They were absolutely fine with that, and I was like, okay, perfect, now I don't have any luggage to carry around with me, I can go about my day. But I had also fucked up with regards to the hotel, and I'll tell you guys in a minute. But all of a sudden loads of my friends started messaging me. I told all my friends, I was like, if they call you, don't involve yourself, it's my personal encounter, just block the numbers and go about your day, okay? Don't worry about me, I'm perfectly fine, I'm working around some things. And then this is where one of my friends decided to call me. This was also the friend who I had first told that I was going to Argos and I was getting a suitcase and that I decided to leave home. She had called me and she was like, oh my god, basically I know that you've left home, I was just wondering if you wanted to come over to mine and eat at least, just so you don't have to buy any food and that you're in a comfortable mindset. And I was just like, oh my god, that's so sweet of her, of course I'll come to yours, you're so kind, thank you so much. I wish I never told her. This will be another story time because it's a whole story in itself. But we'll call this person Snake. There's also another snake. We'll call them Snake 1 and Snake 2. And I'll do a story time on them in itself. But basically I went to Snake number 1's house, who's the person I had initially told about leaving home. And I ate there. Everything was perfectly fine, and then basically I got a phone call and a message which said that if I want to get rid of this missing persons incident, what I have to do is go into the police station, the nearest police station, and show myself that I'm fine, just to close the case. So while I was at Snake number 1's house, I decided to go to that police station and show myself and be like, look guys, I'm perfectly fine. And that's where they decided to drop the case. I later found out that the guy who was meant to close the case didn't do it very well, or he made a mistake or something and he didn't close the case properly. So I had to call another person in my original city, and that police officer was very helpful, and he gave me his contact number. He was like, look, if you ever need anything, just know that I'm here, blah blah. He was a very nice police officer and very understanding as well, and he helped me close the case just to confirm that I'm healthy, alive, and I'm not a missing person basically. At the end of the phone call and at the end of the whole encounter at the police station, they said to me, you're right, you're over 18, you're an adult in this country, so you can do whatever you wish. And I was like, yeah, close the case, I'm perfectly fine. I then go back to Snake number 1's house and I decided to eat there, and then basically her dad had decided to give me a lift to the train station so that I can make my way to Canary Wharf at the hotel. Basically guys, I got to the hotel, right, and bear in mind I was like in a rush because I had just found out that the police had decided to track me, and I just took my SIM card out and stuff. I used the hotel's Wi-Fi as well to book on that day, and when I went to the check-in, please tell me why the guy looked at my reference and he was like, you know you booked for tomorrow night, right? I was like, are you serious? I was like, are you kidding me? What? Are you serious? No, I booked for today. And then he showed me and I was like, oh my god, do you have any rooms for today? Please, like, I left my luggage here this morning with you guys as well. And he goes, no, sorry, unfortunately we're fully booked. And I was like, shit, what am I meant to do? And obviously because the case was closed with the police, I was like, you know what? The next cheapest option I have is to go back to Clapham. And from Canary Wharf, I decided to go all the way back to Clapham, to that hotel, took my luggage, looked like an absolute idiot taking it from the luggage area because the guy was like, aren't you staying here anymore? I was like, it's fully booked. Went to that hotel. Funnily enough, they gave me the same room. I was like, fuck, this isn't a good idea. And I also had bought a new SIM as well, and then basically transferred all of my contacts onto there as well. And then I received a WhatsApp message from one of my friends which I was at uni with, and this person, I just want to say thank you so much to them. I think I'm gonna call her Flower because that's literally what she is. She's an absolute angel, and I'm so grateful that she even messaged me that night, because if she didn't, I probably would have been in a lot of struggle, especially after finding out how Snake 1 and 2 had snaked me that same night, which, like I said, I'll make another story time video about. But yeah, long story short, Flower had messaged me on WhatsApp and she was like, oh my gosh, your family just called me, they're really concerned, are you okay, basically. And I said to her, look, I've just left home, this is my first night that I've left, I finally managed to escape, blah blah blah. I explained my circumstances to her and she was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry to hear that, are you okay, like do you want to come to mine, like we can just talk about things and just help you get on your feet again. And I was very surprised. I was like, what, like are you for real? And she was like, yeah, come over. And then I don't know what to do, because obviously Snake 1 and Snake 2 had snaked me, and I had went to Snake 1's house and that shit happened, and I had found out about all of the shit that they were doing behind my back. And I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna take a gamble, I'm gonna go to Flower's house. And the next morning when I checked out of the hotel, I decided to cancel my Canary Wharf booking at that hotel that I booked the next day. And yeah, I decided to go to her house. When I got to Flower's house, I was honestly so relieved. She was so nice to me, she was so welcoming, and it was almost like we had never had a day apart from seeing each other from uni. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like we did have a lot of good memories as friends in uni. We used to eat out a lot, blah blah, but obviously we didn't maintain the relationship like after I went on summer break, basically. So it was just nice to see her in general anyway when I went to hers. And the first thing she did was like took my suitcase to her room, and she's like, you're staying here until you get yourself a job and you find yourself a roof over your head that you can afford. And I was like, are you serious? Like, so nice. Like, oh my gosh, like why are you doing this for me? And I think she was the only friend, unlike Snake 1 and 2, that took my mental health into consideration. She saw the state of me. She was a lot older than me as well, so I believe, like, you know, she's wiser than Snake 1 and Snake 2, and she really understood that I really was going through crazy trauma, and she saw it, and she saw it, and she saw it, and she saw it. I can't say it. And she saw the trauma that I had been through after I had sat down and explained to her for hours, and the issue I had with them the night before I left. But yeah, overall she was so nice compared to Snake 1 and Snake 2, who literally disregarded all of my mental health and the trauma that I've been through with my family. And just because my family had called them and said, oh my gosh, she's run away, like bring her back home, they fell into that trap and decided to snake me and all that stuff, and tried to lure me to their houses so that I could basically get caught at theirs and invite my family over so they could take me back home. And I was just like, why the F would you do that? But anyways, like I said, that's gonna be another story time. But basically I explained everything to her. I even told her about Snake 1 and Snake 2, and she was like, oh my gosh, why would they do such a thing? Like they don't really understand what it's like to go through that, which is the reason why they probably don't accept the fact that you've decided to leave home. And I was just like, you know what, you're right, it's best that I stay with you because you're very understanding, and plus you are giving me more help than anybody else has so far, and so I trust you. And I stayed there for a couple of days. She worked very close, and she even took me to work with her because she was also planning to become manager in the area and get me a job there as well, so she can get me on my 2 feet again, which I'm super grateful and appreciative of her doing. But basically, like a week later, after staying with Flower, my family managed to get into contact with me, and they were like, look, we know what you're going through and we're so sorry, basically, like everything we put you through we shouldn't have, just come back home and we're gonna change for you. And me being the silly emotional person, I was like, are you serious? Like, are you being for real? Are you gonna change though? And they made it seem so believable that I fell into their trap. And I said to Flower, look, do you know what, I think they might be telling the truth, and I'm gonna go home and see how things work out. And I remember Flower telling me, don't go back. I wish I listened to her, but I guess things happen for certain reasons. I believe everything happens for a reason as well. Maybe if I stayed with Flower, I probably wouldn't have got into my accommodation, or probably wouldn't have gone back to uni. I would have just gone into full-time working. So I guess things really do happen for a reason. But long story short, I decided to leave at the end of that week, took all my stuff, said bye to Flower. I literally thanked her so much for everything she had done while I was away and going through the shit I was going through. And I definitely do still have contact with her now. She took me to this train station. She said, be safe, if you need me, make sure you message me first thing. And I was like, okay, great, at least I have somebody that is like on my side and understands the shit that I'm going through. And I remember just going to the train station and then unblocking everyone in my family. I shouldn't have done that, but I had to because I was going back there. But yeah, I went on my way back to my family's house, and I remember my sister was waiting for me at the train station, and I was very uncomfortable, I'm not gonna lie, immediately when she did this. But she came out the car crying in front of everybody at the train station and was like trying to hug me and stuff, and I was literally standing like this. And because I'm an emotional person, I didn't even feel that she was being genuine, but I cried anyways because I was just like, oh, for God's sake. It wasn't really a cry of like, oh my God, yeah, same, I missed you so much. It was more of a cry like, oh, for God's sake, this is not going to be good. Like, I'm about to get told the F off. And I remember in the car I was telling my sister like, oh my gosh, are they going to shout at me? What's going to happen to me? Please answer me, let me know, is everything, like, am I going to be in trouble? What's going to happen to me? I just remember repeating those same questions and her just being like, oh no, don't worry, like, it's gonna be fine. And it was very bizarre for me because I'd never seen any of my family members be accepting or like let me have my way, and I was just like, this is kind of creepy. So I got home, I went into the house, and already I felt the tension in the air and everybody just looking at me, because I remember I'd straightened my hair at Flower's house and I was wearing like tight clothing and I had a big jumper on me as well. They were just looking at me, and I know deep down they were judging, like straight up, but they were just acting all so nice. And then they were like, oh, don't worry, like, we understand what you're going through, like the police told us and stuff, and we're gonna change, blah blah. And I was like, yeah, okay, cool. And I just kept it very quiet, and I already knew I had fucked up. I messaged Flower, I was like, look, I've really fucked up now. But the police had to basically interview me the next day, just to ensure that I was really okay and kind of understand why I left in the first place. So I decided to go upstairs and sleep, and this is the weirdest shit ever. You're gonna be so creeped out when you hear this, but my older sister decided to come into the room and was like, oh, I'm gonna sleep with you today. I was like, excuse me? What? And she was like, oh yeah, because you know you left home and stuff, and I feel like I wasn't there for you, and like I'm gonna sleep with you today in the bed, and like blah blah blah. And she was just being overly affectionate, like hugging me and kissing me and acting weird. I literally felt like I was in the movie Get Out. Like, if you guys have watched Get Out, that's how the environment was, like overly smiley, overly happy and kind, and it was just fake atmosphere, period. And I was just like, for fuck's sake, what have I got myself into? The next day the police came over and they were like, we need everybody to like get out of the room, I need to be in a room with her by herself. And he decided to come into the dining room, and as I was sitting in the dining room with the police officer before he tried to like interview me, one of my brothers decided to come through the dining room and into the shower room, which was basically connected to the dining room area. And basically the kitchen was kind of like in front of me and the police officer was facing me, so there was like no windows or anything like that on my side. And I could just see them peeking or like earwigging, and I was just like, what the F? I can't really say anything, otherwise when the police officer goes, something's gonna happen to me. Like, if I say shit about them, either kids are gonna get taken away, my parents are probably going to be in trouble for the way that they have been treating me, especially like the abuse aspect and stuff. So I was like, shit, what am I meant to do? On top of that, my brother's in the shower room, he's probably earwigging as well, and I'm pretty sure that my mum or someone had sent him to basically earwig on me because that's how paranoid I was. And so when the police decided to ask me questions, the only thing that I could say is, everything's fine, I just made a silly mistake. And then the police officer looked at me because, are you sure? Like, you're being really weird. And I just decided to explain to him brief things, like, for example, I'm stressed out about uni, and London's really far from where I live and I pay £50 a ticket every single day and it's extortionate for me. I'm not allowed a job and basically I need to live in accommodation in London, otherwise it's insanity. And the police officer looked at me really weird. He was like, you're paying that much every single day to go to uni? And he goes, you're waking up that early to go to uni? I also explained like how I felt depressed and I was having hallucinations and all that stuff. I basically let out stuff that wouldn't basically affect my family, but more so like issues I had that could get me away from them, but in a way that they wouldn't suspect anything, but more so get the police to tell my parents to let me stay in uni accommodation, which they never let me before. And although they were acting really like overly nice and stuff, I knew that if I said it to them, they'd be like, oh no, don't go because you know this that, and like not be aggressive but like tell me no, you're gonna commute basically. And I'm not gonna lie, I did try. On the first day that I came back, I kind of cried. I told them I was depressed and stuff. They didn't believe the depression part, they didn't believe about my mental health stuff, and they were giving me a lot of fake energy. And when I asked about living in London, they were like, no, don't do that, look, we'll help pay for your tickets, blah blah. But I think they just didn't understand the aspect of me being drained and mentally affected through like traveling at early times and hallucinating and stuff. They just didn't get it. So I was like, I might as well tell the police officer this so that he can liaise with them and get them to let me stay. And he was like, you know what, I can see that you're not okay and I know you're not opening up to me, but here's my number. If you ever need anything, let me know what you need. And funnily enough, this is the same police officer that called me when I was in London to help close my case. And so he gave me my number. He goes, you have my contact number, I'm going to go speak to your parents now and I'm going to tell them that you have to go to London accommodation and that I will be checking in, and if you haven't, that you'll ensure that I've got that sorted out. And I was just like, oh my gosh, she's helping me out, like yay, I'm gonna stay in uni accommodation. Hopefully that way I'm gonna be able to escape for good. So basically I said goodbye to the police officer and he spoke to my parents, and then after that they were just acting overly weird and overly nice about the situation, and it was still like the fake energy for months. I think I was there for about a month and a half before it came to the time where I had to go back to uni again. I think it was 2 months because I moved into my accommodation around about like the end of August or something like that, or maybe the start of September. I think it was August though, but yeah, I went into accommodation in August. And from the period of the police saying, look, you have to let her go to accommodation, up till the time where I actually left, I ensured that I kept my distance from them. They didn't really disturb me a lot, but I could tell that there was a lot of fake energy because I used to hear bickering like, oh, go see what she's doing, or like them looking over to see what I'm doing on my phone and stuff. Like, I just felt like there was eyes on me 24/7, and so I was so happy that I was at least gonna get out by going to uni accommodation. So yeah, that was basically the first time I left home. The second time, once I got to accommodation, I'm not gonna lie, I cut them off. I cut them off completely. I'm in accommodation now, and hopefully there's enough time for me to basically get myself a job and sort out where I'm gonna live after this semester ends. But before that whole little phone call, I did go home. And unfortunately they took all my personal documentation off me, so like my passport, my birth certificate, all of my qualification certificates. So I was in a bit of a shit position, so I wasn't even able to get a job. So what I was trying to do was just save as much as I could in terms of like my uni money and like selling stuff in the accommodation, like making food and selling it to people and stuff. So yeah, I think the first time that I did something was make nachos with someone, and we basically sold them to everyone in the courtyard downstairs and they were just like buying plates of food, and that was basically how I was making money, like a little side hustle on the side. But then again, I still needed a passport. A couple of like weeks after that, I started talking to Vic. So yeah, after I left home, and I blocked my family, considering they had all of my personal documents. They did try get into contact with me. They called the police on me again. The police came to my accommodation. I said, look, no, I'm not going back there. And I even messaged the police officer in my city, and I said to him, look, I've left home again. I'm perfectly fine though, but you know, I'm done and I'm not gonna go back there. And he goes, you know what, I could see that you were going through something, but just make sure you keep yourself in check and that you have somewhere that has a roof over your head and you know where to go. If you need anything, let me know. I was like, perfect. So yeah, that's basically where I officially cut them off, and I left for good, and I was living in accommodation. A couple of weeks later, I ended up seeing Vic. We started dating a couple of months after that, and basically by the time it came to leaving my accommodation, Vic had helped me buy my passport, which he didn't have to do, but he bought me a passport. And also by the time it came to the end of the year, we also got into a relationship, and that's how, you know, we both ended up moving in together and everything fell into place. But that was basically it. I think the last time I spoke to them was June 2020, and I think it was because it was my younger sister's birthday, and I just called out of kindness because my little sister didn't really do anything to me. She was like an innocent toddler at the time when I left, and I thought that it would be, you know, nice to check up on her at least. So I called, and then basically she gave me so much lip. She was like, oh, why do you always dress like this? We see what you do online, blah, blah, blah. I was in shock. I was like, wow, they really brainwashed her to think that I'm a bad person just because of the way that I dress. And I was just like, okay, fuck all of you then. I ain't gonna call none of you back. And then from that day, I just blocked all of them. Never called them ever again. Hopefully I gave you guys enough details about like the whole story time and it made sense and stuff, but that was basically how I left home. And next video I will be doing the story time on Snake 1 and Snake 2. But thank you so much for listening to the story time. If you guys did watch all the way to the end, make sure you go ahead and smash that subscribe button and click the notification bell. And let me know what other type of videos you guys want to see on my channel as well. Once again, thank you so much. Love you guys so much. And I will see you on my next video.